Man, can y'all believe it's week 10? It's really week 10 college football. All right, so we're going to talk about these top 25 games. I might even talk about some non-top 25 games as well. I'll always start off by breaking down the top 25 games, so follow along. All right, folks. So here we go. We're going to talk about these matchups getting ready to start in a few minutes, and they will probably already be started by the time this video uploads. And by the time you see it, I'm pretty sure they'll already start. Okay, so the Ohio State Buckeyes and Penn State. This is the game of the day, and it's early in the morning. It's getting ready to kick off. Ohio State's a 3-point favorite at the Nittany Lions of Penn State. This game's going to be big. It's kind of a whiteout, I guess you would say. That stadium's going to be wild, man. The state up there in University Park. That's going to be a wild stadium there. People up early in the morning, they're excited. Penn State's 7-0, 4-0 in the conference. Can James Franklin get over the hump? They're good every year. They never make the playoffs. There's a 12-team playoff now, so even if they lose this game, there's leeway. I don't know if they can make it with 2, but they might. I can see extra teams making it from the Big Ten to put them in a situation where they may be able to make it with 2 losses, but they need to win this game because they're at home. And if they do lose it, they can't lose anymore. They need to find their way into the Big Ten title game and win it, in my opinion. But Ohio State, they're similar because they already have 1 loss. So Buckeyes, I think they can stomach this loss on the road in a close game. If they win out the rest of the year, I think 2 losses will get them in. At the end of the day, I think the Buckeyes win this game. They're a 3-point favorite. I hate 3-point spreads because I could totally see this being a 3-point game. I think the Buckeyes win this game. I said it before. I think they go back to play Oregon again, this time in the Big Ten championship, and I think that they beat Oregon as Oregon handed them the 1L this year up in Eugene, and what a fantastic game that was. I think those are the 2 best teams in the Big Ten. I think they meet again. Penn State. I would like to see Penn State win this game because it's been a while since the Nittany Lions have been, a top-tier program. So I'm rooting for Penn State, just to be honest with you. But I think the Buckeyes win this game again. I hate the 3-point spread because I think it's a 3-point game. If you're going to force my hand, I'm going to take Ohio State to cover because I think they win this game in general, but don't like the 3 points. All right. Also in the same slot, Manny Diaz returns to Miami, former Hurricanes coach. Miami Hurricanes are 21-point favorite, number 5 in the country. I would definitely take the 21 points in Duke. Okay, this is my thing I've been saying for years, the last 20 years. I don't trust the Canes. They've just been a huge disappointment in big situations. But I'm going to tell you who I do trust, and that's quarterback Cam Ward. That man's a monster. He's the best quarterback in the country, and he's a guy I would take in the draft, even over Shedeur Sanders. If I'm picking a quarterback up there, that guy's so good, man, so good. 2,700 plus yards this year, 24 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, makes special plays, does things for his team when they need him, come from behind big wins against Cal and Virginia Tech. They survived a couple times. Looks like they wrote that ship. They've won pretty handily recently since the survival in the Cal game. So I think Miami wins this game, but 21 points I think is too many because I think Duke's a good football team. Duke's 6-2, 2-2 in the conference. I don't think they lose this game by 21 points. So if you're betting the point spread, take Duke. But I think the Canes continue to roll under the tutelage of one Cam Ward, the best quarterback in the country. All right, next game, Ole Miss versus Arkansas. Arkansas, they could definitely be a record. Just ask Tennessee. 5-3, 3-2 in the year. Ole Miss is on life support for the playoffs. They're going to have to win out. No question about that. They're going to have to win out. And I don't think they could probably make the SEC title game right now with 2 losses, with the way tiebreakers and everything are, being that they lost already to 2 teams. Well, they lost to one team that's a contender, and that was LSU. They lost to Kentucky. That game probably not going to really matter in the scheme because they won't be competing with them for a tiebreaker. So you win out find a way into the SEC title game, win that, you'll be in the playoffs. Other than that, I don't really like Ole Miss's chances of making the playoffs. This could be a trap game. Arkansas is not an easy out by any means. If I'm betting this game 8.5 points, I'm taking Arkansas. Ole Miss has not been scoring like I expected them to score. The defense has actually looked a little better. I'd probably take the under on 54.5. When in the past, I would have been like, go over on Ole Miss. Their offense has not been that great, but Razorback Stadium in Fayetteville, I expect this to actually be a good football game. I would take Arkansas on the spread and take Ole Miss to win. Air Force versus Army. Battle of the military. Excuse me. Army 7-0 on the season. Air Force 1-6. Rough season for Air Force. Army's an 18-point favorite. That's a lot of points. I would still take Army because Air Force is having a rough year. I think Army just takes it and just rolls it down their throat, runs the ball right down their throat. They got a running back in Daly. He's got almost 1,000 yards and 19 touchdowns. I think that guy might run for 300 yards today. I think between the teams, I think they'll definitely run for 300 yards. I think they'll roll Air Force. I think that 18 points is probably not enough. The Air Force won't score many. Number 24, Illinois. Professor Mark Walters, Illini, 6-2, 3-2 in the Big Ten, taking on a Minnesota team that likes to roll the boat, so to say, at 5-3, 3-2. This should be a pretty close game, pretty even game. Minnesota's actually a 2.5-point favorite over the road. On the road, I find this kind of weird. I'm going to take Illinois being a 2.5-point dog, and I think Illinois wins this game close by a field goal. Oregon versus Michigan. This would have been a huge game at the beginning of the year on paper, but Sharon Moore and Michigan, they're having a rough year. They're 5-3, but 3-2 in conference. That's a rough year for defending national champions. Might not be a rough year for everyone, but that's a rough year for defending national champions. Of course, Jim Harbaugh's out there in Los Angeles with the Chargers, coaching Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's old school Oregon should have no problem beating Michigan. I wonder if Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh have a side bet on this game. I mean, if I was Jim Harbaugh and I was smart, I probably would tell Justin, hey, give me 14 points or something, because this ain't no straight up bet. This ain't no straight up bet unless you just want to just pay out Justin. I mean, if you want to just pay him out, bet it straight up. Oregon's going to smash Michigan around 14.5 is a big number. I can see it going 14 and taking the Michigan side if you're making this bet, but I'll just go all in on it and say that Oregon smashes them by 3 touchdowns. Michigan still has a pretty good defense, but they're not going to put up enough points against this Oregon offense. So I take Oregon in the fort, and I'll swallow the 14.5. That's in the 2:30/3:30 Eastern time slot, by the way. The Florida Gators also in that slot, 4-3, 2-2. Trying to put the Georgia Bulldogs on upset alert. Now, the Georgia Bulldogs, they've been pretty dominant in this series in recent years. 2 teams that hate each other. My buddy Magnificent Germany with Darian, him and his Gators, they definitely want to beat the Georgia Bulldogs, but I think Georgia's just too good, man. They're just too good. Again, another 14.5 spread. You know, I'm going to take Florida on the spread. I can see this being a 14-point game. I'd go on the other side of the spread and take the Gators. I just don't think they have enough to win this game. It's funny, Etienne was a good running back for the Gators last year. He's in Georgia right now. He's got 422 yards and 7 touchdowns, hit the transfer portal and went to the rival, and he gets to play against his old school today. So I know it happens every week because of the transfer portal. Give me Georgia, but less than 14.5 here. Iowa State, 7-0 on the season, ranked number 11. They got a big date with Texas Tech, 5-3, 3-2 in the Big 12. Iowa State, I think, will continue to roll in this game. Another big point spread, 14 points. I don't know about that. I don't like 14-point spreads because I can see it being 14. I know I'm kind of like repetitive when I see these 14s and 7s and 3s because I hate these spreads because I could totally see a push, and I hate pushes. Pushes are not good for anyone. So if you're betting this game and you're not worried about a push, just go ahead and take Iowa State to win by, say, 17 or so. Next game, Indiana Hoosiers. 8-0 on the season, 5-0 in the Big Ten. They're a different team. I'm happy for them, happy to see them winning games like this. They're going on the road against Michigan State. They don't want this to be a trap game. Spartans 4-4 on the season, 2-3 in the Big Ten. Indiana's quarterback missed last week. He's back this week. Don't let this be a trap game for you Hoosiers. Take care of business here. Go take care of business against Michigan next week. Go 10-0 going into that Ohio State game. Do not let these two games against these Michigan teams trap you up. Do not let it trap you. Don't do it. I like Indiana in this game. Could be closer than 8 points. I'll continue to ride the better team and take Indiana +8. Kansas State, number 17, 7-1 on the season. They are a 12.5-point favorite over a Houston team that's been not good this year. A Houston team that comes in with a record of 3-5, 2-3 in the Big 12. 12.5 again is a big number. And again, I'm going to take the ranked team, the favorite here, to cover 12.5 in Kansas State. I just think they're better, and I think they'll find a way to win this game by 2 scores or more. Texas A&M, big win last week over the Bayou Bengals. Number 10 ranked team in the country, 7-1. They've been rolling since the Notre Dame game. Haven't lost a game since then. They go visit South Carolina. South Carolina's 4-3, 2-3 in the SEC. A&M's a 3-point favorite on the road. Again, that 3-point number, I don't like it. I'll take A&M here. I'm not sure who they're starting. We know the backup came in last week and breathed life, and then them looked great against LSU. I think they'll win this game by 4 to 7 points. Louisville, not Louisville, not Louisville, Louisville, the Cardinals, 5-3, going on the road against a Clemson team that looked like garbage in the second half of game 1 against Georgia, and they've been steamrolling teams since then. Dabo and them, they got their act together since then. I like Clemson again to cover 10 points and take this game pretty easily. Tennessee versus Kentucky, big rivalry game here. Kentucky, they started off pretty good, pulled off a big upset against Ole Miss, but that's their only SEC win. They lost to a crappy Auburn team last week. Tennessee's a 17.5-point favorite. Again, another big point spread. Give me Tennessee to win the game easily. Tennessee's offense has not been great. I might even consider taking Kentucky on the 17.5 because Tennessee's offense has not been great lately. I can see them winning this game 23-7, 23-6. SMU against Pittsburgh. This is another one of the biggest games of the day, a sneaky good game. Number 18, undefeated Pittsburgh. Eli Holstein, the former Zachary Bronco quarterback, doing a fantastic job, transferred from Alabama, got Pittsburgh 7-0, going against a really good 7-1 SMU team who's also in the ACC. Easy to forget that a Texas team's in the ACC, but they are 7-1, 4-0 in the conference. Big game and determining who might be playing for the ACC championship. Playoff aspirations for both teams. They both need to keep winning, keep it rolling. Gerald Ford Stadium in Dallas here will be rocking. I'm going to take SMU to win this game, but I'm going to take Pittsburgh to cover, 7.5-point underdog. I think Eli Holstein and the guys, they're 7-0 for a reason. I think they'll definitely keep this close. Last night, Ashton Genty, another 100-plus yard game. He ran for 149 and a pair of touchdowns, and Boise State took care of business against San Diego State. Boise State 7-1, 4-0 in the Mountain West, setting themselves up well to make a playoff run. So look if there's any other non-top 25 games I want to sort of talk about. Let's see. Let's see who else is in that early window. We're definitely not talking about some of these like Oklahoma and Maine. Let's see if there's anything worthy. Syracuse, Virginia Tech could be an interesting game. Syracuse, they lost a couple now. They're 5-2. Virginia Tech's 5-3. I think that might be a good football game to watch. Virginia Tech's a 3.5-point favorite on the road. I like them in that role. Should be a good football game. Memphis 7-1. We don't talk about them a lot. They're a good football team as well. I think they'll smack around UTSA. They're only a 7-point favorite. I like that one for Memphis. Auburn, an 8-point favorite over Vandy. I don't understand that. I don't. I think Vandy is proving they're a better football team. I mean, unless Vandy's got some injuries that I don't know about, I would hurry up and jump on that spread. But I will say this. I jumped on Missouri against Auburn saying the same thing, and I think Auburn covered in that game. So, Missouri came back and won. So these point spreads happen for a reason. These guys in Vegas, they're smarter than me and you. Florida State's just abysmal, 1-7, playing at home against North Carolina, who's not great either. Oklahoma State's having a rough year. Unusually rough year, 0-5 in the Big 12. I mean, how often do you see Gundy have a team that bad? Oklahoma State's always competitive. They're usually a 9 to 10 win team. For them to have this type of rough season is very surprising. And they're a 4.5-point dog at home against Arizona State. Arizona's having a rough year. UCF, both teams 3-5 playing each other. How about ULM, man? They're having a nice year. 5-2, 3-1 in the Sun Belt. Going on the road to Marshall. Should be an interesting game. Troy, unusually bad this year, 0-4 in the conference, 1-7 overall, playing the Chanticleers. Chanticleers only a 3.5-point favorite over them. I would probably take the Chanticleers. Iowa, 3-point favorite at home against Wisconsin. Two middle-of-the-road Big Ten teams. Should be a good football game, though. USC unranked, only 4-4. Man, rough year. Playing against Washington, a team that played Michigan for the national championship last year. Also having a rough year, only 4-4. Like USC in that game. They're a 2.5-point favorite. It's pretty much all I think I'm going to touch on in terms of the games that for this week. So games are getting ready to kick off soon. They'll probably already be kicked off by the time you watch this video. Hope this shirt's not too bright and burning your eyes when you're watching it. But it should be a really good day of football. I got college game day playing in the background right now. Them picking games, which is pretty cool. So hopefully you can take some value out of these picks. And as always, remember, it's sports. Peace and sports. See y'all later. Y'all have a good one.